Hello, wine lovers, cocktail lovers, food lovers. We've got a treat for you today. I'm gonna call it the twofer. What's the twofer? Well, I'm gonna show you how to make a great, refreshing cocktail, perfect for all your summer entertaining, and to go with it, a fantastic dip, a little something I like to call guacamole. Maybe you've heard of it. I'm going to show you how to make both, whip them up together, and be the host with the most. Stick around. Hello friends, I'm Erin, the founder and chief sommelier at the Wine Sisters, and welcome to our little corner of YouTube. This is our channel where every week we show you how to eat, drink, and entertain like a pro. And entertaining, at least for us, hopefully for you, entertaining is in full swing this summer. We just celebrated my grandma's 95th birthday. 95. If that doesn't call for a drink, I don't know what does. But there is loads of stuff happening for us. Hopefully you're really enjoying the summertime as well. And so I wanted to bring you a really fun video of some of the drinks and the snack that is everyone's favorite. And I'm gonna show you how to do it. So I'm gonna start off by talking to you today about the Paloma. The Paloma is a fantastic cocktail originating in Mexico. And in fact, my sources tell me that it's probably the most popular drink of Mexico. Here in North America, we have a tendency to think that that would be the margarita, and why not? Margaritas are super delicious. In fact, if you want to see how to make a margarita for a crowd, just go to the video right here and you can check that out as well. So the Paloma is a really yummy drink. It's made with a mixture of ruby red grapefruit, simple syrup, a little bit of lime, and of course, tequila. So I'm gonna get to show you how it's done right now. So into your rocks glass, you'll notice it's an empty rocks glass. Let me just clear some of this out of the way for you so you can get a better view. That will be helpful, right, for the old YouTube? I'm gonna take some of this lime, which I'll be squeezing later. I'm just gonna put a little slice in it. And I'm just gonna give it a little rub with the lime because I'm gonna do a salt rimmer on this. Some people do it just down the side. Some people don't want a rimmer at all. It's up to you. I'm also using this really great pink Celtic sea salt. I just think it adds a really nice visual appeal to the drink. So if you just have regular rock salt, do that. But I thought it'd be fun. Lava salt might be fun too if you have a different kind of colored salt in your spice cupboard. So just a really easy pink salt rimmer. Get a little bit more on there right there. I'm a big fan of the salt. So is my blood pressure. I'm gonna leave that off to the side. Okay, now let's get to the good stuff, shall we? I'm gonna put in my ice cube as well. Clearly you don't wanna put your ice cube in before you rim it. All right, so into my shaker, which is also filled with ice. What we're going to add in is I have 2 ounces of my Blanco tequila. Whatever tequila is your favorite, just make sure it's really good quality. Then I'm going to add in 1 ounce of freshly squeezed ruby red grapefruit juice. This is really good stuff. And an equal amount of simple syrup, 1 ounce of simple syrup. Some recipes out there call for grapefruit soda. I find grapefruit soda for some reason here in Toronto a little bit difficult to find. But I also don't really love using sodas all the time because there's so much stuff in them a lot of the time. Colors, sweeteners, artificial bits and pieces, that I'd rather just use the fresh juice and the simple syrup, and I find their drink is so much better for it. So then what I'm also going to do is take that lime that I've used. This will just give it a little bright tang, offset some of that sweet bitterness of the grapefruit. Just this, give it a little bit of liveliness. Put in some lime juice right there, and give this a good old shake. You know how that's done, until you get a nice frosty bit on your shaker. This might be a while. Talk amongst yourselves. That's what I'm looking for. Lots of frosting on my shaker. Let me see if I can get that out now. Perfect. Oh, you can smell it. It's gorgeous. All of that really gorgeous grapefruit. I actually have a friend who doesn't like grapefruit, and I don't know what to tell you. How can you not like grapefruit? Into my rocks classic goes. Look how pretty and pink that is. It's such a pretty pale pink. Like if you're doing a garden party that, you know, a wedding shower or a bridal shower, a baby shower even, clearly not for the pregnant one, but like I just think this is such a great, pretty pink drink. But we're not done yet. What we're going to use now is we're going to just top this up with a little bit of soda. Now, if you want to double down and get like sort of a grapefruit scented sparkling water, go right ahead. I'm just using plain just to top that up. I don't have a little spoon with me, so I'm just gonna stir it like that. You don't really have to get too fancy, obviously. And then I'm gonna take a little piece. You can float a piece of grapefruit in it, but I think that might be a little bit domineering for the size of glass that I've used. So I'm going to just put in a little slice of lime, just like that, float it right on top. And this, my darlings, is my Paloma. Fresh and citrusy and bright. Let's have a sip, shall we? I hope you made one along with me, because you're definitely gonna wanna sip on a drink while we go into the guacamole, which is right now. But I have to say to you, this is refreshing, it's delicious, it's absolutely magnificent. It is a fantastic drink for the warm weather when things are a little bit humid and you need to cool down. Quick note, if you don't like tequila, what to tell you, or perhaps you've run out of tequila, probably more likely, you can also swap out vodka or gin if that's something that you prefer. It just obviously won't be an official Paloma, but you know my thoughts on partying with purists. You do you. I'm gonna take one more sip and then we're gonna get right into the guacamole. This is good, hang on. And through the magic of YouTube and a fabulous editor named Ryan, ta-da, cleaned up and ready to move into the guacamole. Friends, I eat guacamole so much, I have almost perfected this recipe. And I know that's a really, really bold statement, but I bring this to almost every party that I'm invited to because it's done by request. People love it. And I'm gonna give you a few hints on how to keep it fresh and bright. So just hang on to your hats. That will be coming up. So what we've got here is I like to try and keep things as streamlined as possible when it comes to my guacamole. I don't add chipotle, I don't add sour cream. I sort of stay tried and true blue. Again, if you want to play around a little bit and adjust it to your taste, I highly encourage that. As much as I love recipes, and I'm happy, if you guys are newsletter subscribers, you know this, I'm happy to give measurements and exact recipes, but I like to think of these kinds of recipes as more of a guideline and less of a Bible. So you do you. All right, so obviously the first thing you're going to need is avocados. So I would suggest maybe one avocado for every 2 people. And what you want to do when you're buying an avocado is you want to make sure that it still has the stem attached. If you buy it and it's plucked out, this means that it can get oxygen, like there's oxygen that can seep in through that opening. And that's when you open up your avocado and you'll find that there's those brown lines and almost stringy bits. It gets a bit fibrous. So don't buy your avocados if they're missing the stem. And probably if they're missing the stem, it's because it's been plucked out by people looking to see if they're ripe or not, because you can tell a ripe avocado when it still has the green in the where the stem was and it hasn't turned brown. If it turns brown, chances are they're on their way out the door. So you want to look for that green little hole, I guess it would be, underneath the stem. So the easiest way to open up your avocado is to be careful, but use a good sharp knife. These are always very sharp. Speaking of which, if you want to know how to keep your knives sharp, please check out this video where I show you a very easy way on how to use a honing steel. And so using all my careful bits, I'm just going to take the knife and put it horizontally around, twist it, and then take it apart like that. And you can see how nice and ripe these still are. They have kind of that greenish yellow bit. I don't like to squeeze them too much because I don't want them to bruise. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to score, because I find this a little bit easier. You don't necessarily have to. I'll show you the other way as well. But I score it into squares because that makes it easier to mash. And I'm gonna drop it in my bowl. I also like to have an oversized bowl so I have plenty, whoopsie. I should have used an apron. If you guys remember last week's video was a bit of a mess. I should always use an apron, but they say do one thing every day that scares you, walk on the wild side, the whole bit, so I am. But you can see here that these avocados are nice and green. There's not any sort of striations or brown. How you get the pit out is you just do that. And then, again, I'm gonna score it, but you can, if you want, just scoop it out. I promised you that I would do that, but I didn't. Sorry. Okay. Anyway, we're going to scoop all this out. Okay, so we've got our guacamole in there. What we also want to do is we want to put in a healthy pinch of salt. And when I say healthy, I don't mean I mean really let it rip, people. The salt is not only going to flavor it, it's really going to punch up the overall flavor. So don't be shy, you know, unless you have hypertension or something, don't be shy. A good couple of cranks of pepper, freshly ground is always best if you can manage it. Couple good cranks. And then we're going to use, for my guacamole, I like to use a healthy amount of cumin. I love cumin, it's one of my favorite herbs. So I use a good healthy amount there. and then smoked paprika. This is going to give it a really nice smokiness, like sort of an underscore of, what's that? Like it adds a nice layer, a nice depth. And of course, we're going to also use lime juice. Lime juice is not only used for flavoring, it's going to keep the avocado from turning brown. As soon as the avocado, just like an apple, as soon as the air hits it, you probably noticed it starts getting brown and unsightly. So, and it even changes as it oxidizes, it even changes the flavor a little bit. So by having some nice fresh lime juice in there, and you could use lemon, you could use grapefruit if you wanted to, although lime is clearly the most traditional. Just put that over there. You want to use that for mashing it all up. So we're gonna mash it up. I like to use a potato masher because I like my guacamole to have a little bit of texture. I don't want it, put it in the blender and puree it into, a smoothie or baby food. I want it to have a little bit of texture, a little bit of bite to it. So that's why we're gonna do that. Okay, so now that I've got it pretty mashed up and blended together, I'm now going to add in the shallot. And I like to use shallot as opposed to red onion or even white onion because I think that the flavor works better with the guacamole. Red onion, as much as I love it, I find in this recipe, it's a little bit too much of a bite and too domineering of a flavor. You could use white onion because that's a sweeter, gentler onion, but I like how shallot works. And I'm also going to use cilantro. I get it. This is so polarizing that I don't necessarily always include this if I know I have friends or family that I'm serving this to who absolutely abhor cilantro. The people who have that gene where cilantro tastes like soap to them. I have cilantro lovers coming over, so I'm gonna add in some cilantro, but the thing about being a good host is I don't add it in if people don't like it because there's nothing more obnoxious than when people are like, try it, you'll love it, just try it, just try a bite. If you say no, you say no. No means no. No to cilantro. As much as it hurts my heart, I understand. Okay, so we're gonna take a little bit of shallot and I'm gonna dice it up. If you are confused or don't know how to dice up a shallot safely or easily or quickly, just check out this video from our lemon shallot vinaigrette. It's also a really terrific vinaigrette, it's my favorite. In there, I give you the lowdown on how to chop up a shallot if you're at all nervous about your knife skills. So that goes right in like that. So I'm gonna say about 1 avocado for every 2 people, and shallots are small, so I'd say one shallot for every 2 to 3 people, depending on how much you love shallot. And I'm gonna use a little bit of cilantro, like I said, and I'm gonna dice this up. You can use the stems. I know people always say, oh, don't use the stems. If they're the delicate stems actually have a ton of flavor. If they're the tougher bottom stems, you can save that for another use, maybe a stock or something, or a sauce if you're going to use it. But just those tiny delicate stems, those actually pack a lot of flavor. So don't be afraid to use those. So we're just gonna chop this up really nice and fine. Clearly my cilantro has been washed really well because nothing will ruin your guacamole more than having it taste like dirt. Put that in there as well. And it helps if you have a really sharp knife, like I said. All right, so now we're going to add all this in. Now friends, if your party comes to an end and people haven't hoovered back the guacamole, you need to get new friends. Like that's without a doubt. But let's pretend that you just made an excess amount and people didn't manja the way you wanted them to, or the way that they could have. You can store guacamole very successfully for a number of days. I have. So here's a guacamole I made maybe yesterday or the day before even. Like I said, I eat a lot of guacamole. And I have it in this Tupperware type bowl. This has cling film or plastic wrap right on top. So look at this. You can just peel it off. I made it like 2 days ago and look how green it still is. And that's just with the cling film protecting it. So what you want to do, doesn't matter the amount, even if it's just a couple tablespoons, because your kids can have that as a snack. You can munch on it while making your next dinner. Waste not, want not. We don't throw things away here at the Wine Sisters. So what you want to do is you would just simply, over your guacamole, you want to make it nice and flat, so that it's going to have the most even surface and the most of it is going to be protected from the air because the air is what makes it turn brown, like we said. And then you're gonna take a good squeeze of citrus. And in this case, it can be whatever you have lying around. I have this lemon, so you can squeeze the lemon right onto it. Don't worry about it creating a nice coat, like creating a bit of a puddle on top. That's what you want, because that's going to be an extra buffer between the air and the guacamole and what will turn it brown. Then you put your cling film right on top, press it down so it doesn't have any chance of getting. And then if you have a top for an extra, this is just sort of extra insurance. If you don't, I've done it without this extra top and it's just fine. So don't get too worried about it. But I promise you, this is the way that I've done this for years. I know that there's all kinds of ideas out there. You know, put the pit in. I've tried that, it doesn't work. Put an onion in, I've heard. I've not had to try that, but maybe it works, I'm not sure. But this is a foolproof way for me and it works all the time. So use the cling film directly on top and you will have fresh guacamole for days. So it even helps when you're having the party. You can make it in the morning, let the flavors meld and not have any worry of it turning brown. Let's get back to mixing our guacamole. Okay, so now we've got all of our spices. We're mixing this around. I know this is a really big bowl, but I like to have the room to maneuver. Now I can transfer it all into a smaller bowl that's a little bit more festive and appropriate for presentation. Presentation is everything. Okay, doesn't that look good? Smells good. Let's plate this up and enjoy our Paloma and some guacamole on this fine summer day. Et voila, a simple little snack that will pack a lot of punch. I promise you, if you make this, your friends are going to be asking you for the recipe and asking you to bring it to all your gatherings from here on in. So use that as a word of caution. Don't at me that you're now constantly the one making all the guacamole. It is that good, it is super delicious, it's fresh, and it's made with real ingredients. As for the Paloma, have you had this drink before? If you have, I'd love to know how you make yours. Soda, no soda. And similarly, let me know if you think cilantro belongs in a guacamole or not. And what about that case for tomatoes in guacamole? There's a ton of things here that could be quite controversial. I'd love to know what you get up to for your snacks. As always, friends, thank you so much for watching this video. If you want to, subscribe. That way you'll get alerted to every time we drop a new video every single week. And hey, if you like this, please share it with your friends. But the best thing that you can do is leave us a comment, a positive review, a like, because that's how we can get the good word out to everyone who wants to eat, drink, and entertain like a pro. So until next week, my name's Erin, I'm from the Wine Sisters, and I wish you great eating, better drinking. See you soon, friends. Ciao.